there is a mass market segment that presents a unique sales opportunity, trust Hyundai to do everything to try and bring out a product that fits that category. Small hatchbacks, it's got that covered. Regular and premium hatchbacks, yes, Hyundai has got them as well. And then there are subcompact and compact crossovers. It has in fact been dominating that space with the Venue and the Creta. And then there are a couple of sedans in the mix and a luxury SUV as well. The one big segment that Hyundai was missing in was the mini crossover segment, and it has filled that void with the Exter. Dimensionally, it's well under 4 meters and sits a segment below the Venue, but the way it is designed gives it a nice and vibrant feel which defies the price segment that it operates in to some extent. When I first saw the Exter in pics, I was a bit unsure about its design, but when you see this thing in person, the perspective changes. It's a very youthful and unique design in my view. The front has a strong, blunt look to it, with the skid plate lending a fair amount of visual strength to the car as well. I would have liked the glossy black finish of the plastics in the front to be replaced with matte finish. I think that would have looked better, but overall, this thing really looks pretty nice. Along the side, the puffed up haunches add to its muscularity, and the rear is also pretty nicely done. Overall, it's a refreshing design change from the sea of usual stuff. Inside, it is the typical Hyundai experience. The layout is pretty familiar. The touchscreen infotainment system is encased with buttons on the sides of the frame, so that's pretty nice as well. The steering wheel is pretty much the same as the other products in the family, as is the digital instrument pod right in front of the driver. One cool thing over here, there is a dash cam which fittingly in this social media driven make-believe world also takes selfies. The feature list of the Exter is pretty elaborate for its price. It's got a sunroof, of course. Now it's par for the course. It works on voice command, so that's another additional bonus. The infotainment system is BlueLink enabled, and there is Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, all that is there. Plus there is cruise control and a wireless charging pad. So this one is pretty loaded. Safety is addressed quite well too. There are 6 airbags as standard, and that's big. Then of course you get things like VSM, ESC, Hill Start Assist, which are basically a part of VSM itself. And these things are standard in the higher trims, but the good thing is they are available in the options pack in the base version as well. Another thing that is commendable is the quality of the rear parking camera. Excellent resolution and very good on sharpness as well. In the length that is a bit more than 3.8 meters, a 2.45 meter wheelbase affords a reasonable amount of space inside. The knees are not really going to rub against the back of the front seats, even if you have fairly tallish people sitting in the front. And the general comfort is not too bad. The seats are pretty okay, but this is a strict 4-seater. If you really want to squeeze 3 grown-ups in the back, they should really be more than just good fence. The Punch has done wonders for Tata Motors. It's a unique space where it hasn't really had much of a direct competition. The mini SUV category has been a rather static category for a while. There was, of course, the Mahindra KUV 100 for a bit, but it was a rather depressing product. In this price bracket, in this category, the Punch has perhaps the Ignis to contend with, but even that is more of an obtuse hatchback rather than being a crossover. The Exter comes packing a punch. Pun fully intended, of course, but that's true. As a package, it is genuinely commendable. It's the handling and the ride comfort balance that I'm more keen on. Is the Exter a driver's delight? Very simply, no. But does it drive well? Absolutely. The load shifts are not too pronounced, and if you do not load up the car suddenly on one side and are smooth with your steering and throttle inputs, it will settle down nicely on its springs. Being sudden or abrupt in your inputs can definitely upset the car a little, and you can sense a little skip at the rear sometimes. Overall though, this thing can handle twisty roads pretty well enough. The suspension is okay, nothing great but nothing bad as well. It's the right level of soft for most of the scenarios, but it does transmit the slightly more unsettling bumps in form of hollow noises into the cabin, and that is what can make you feel like the suspension ran out of travel, but that's only on very serious broken patches of the road. It's a well-balanced setup between ride and handling. For the regular city and smooth highway use, the Exter should not complain much at all, and even the twisty roads can be reasonably enjoyable if you drive sanely or conservatively enough. The engine is a 1.2-litre petrol, makes about 83 PS and almost 140 Newton-meter, both of which come fairly high in the RPM band. Power peaks out at 6,000 RPM and the peak torque comes at 4,000 RPM. It has, of course, proven to be reliable and decent over all these years, but its marriage with this AMD gearbox is not really the best. By itself, the engine pulls pretty okay, but the automated manual is a bit dim-witted on upshifts. Press hard on the throttle and it downshifts okay. You will, of course, hear the revs rise and the engine is going to let out a rough tone, and the speed build-up might not correspond to the instant noises that the engine makes, but it still moves pretty well enough. The steering does not have any actual feel, but it's linear and it turns well. The brakes are good on feel and modulation, and the general sense of confidence is pretty good. Even the ABS is not as intrusive in the Exter as it is in some of the other Hyundai products. The weak link in the entire package, I think it's the tires. The JK-UX Royale, as they are called, are 175/65 R15s, and while there's enough sidewall to lend a decent ride quality, they aren't really all that grippy, and in some wet road patches, they struggled on throttle. But this issue, of course, can be easily fixed. Just replace them with some better tires. How is it? It's not bad at all. It's actually pretty damn decent, to be honest. What is it? Well, it's not an SUV, that's for sure. No matter how much Hyundai would like you to believe otherwise, it is really a good jacked up hatchback that has got a very unique design to flaunt. Which is exactly what Exter's chief rival also is, which is the Tata Punch. That is also essentially a jacked up hatchback, which goes about as being called an SUV by everyone. So how has Hyundai done with the Exter? To bring in the game of intended puns, it has punched pretty well with this one.